With the All-Star break here ready for Major League Baseball and the fantasy baseball season, here's a few pitchers I look to drop this week. The first guy, Drew Rasmussen of the Tampa Bay Rays. So this Ray team, a lot of bad hits they've taken in the rotation. And Drew Rasmussen, the latest now, he's out for the season and half of next year as well. So he finishes the year 44 2/3, 4-2 record, 47 Ks, a 2.62 ERA, 1.05 whip and 3 quality starts. It was hope that Rasmussen was going to come back, but it just hasn't been the case now. And now it's confirmed he needs Tommy John and out for the season. So right here, Rasmussen, great starting pitcher for this Ray team, and the hits just keep coming now with Tampa Bay. So now he's owned in 43% of fantasy leagues, still is Rasmussen. But even in dynasty and keeper leagues, it's going to take a couple years before he could get back to form, if he ever does. Because with Tommy John, you know it takes 2 or 3 years usually for pitchers to get going and back right, and sometimes they just never get right, and other injuries pile on. So right now, Rasmussen, tough hit for the Rays, even though we know he's been out for a while, but it confirms now that he's out for the season, and he's a pitcher I would easily drop this week. The next pitcher, Drew Smiley of the Chicago Cubs. So Smiley, last week I mentioned him as a drop, and it just hasn't got any better here for Smiley. I know it wasn't the greatest of matchups in his last outing versus the New York Yankees, but the Yankees, they've been struggling mightily hitting the baseball for the most part since Aaron Judge has been out. So on the season for Smiley, 94 innings, 7-6 record, 79 Ks, a 4.31 ERA, a 1.36 whip and 5 quality starts. Last month here for Smiley, he's been one of the worst pitchers in the league, 22 1/3, 2-2 record, 18 Ks, a 7.66 ERA, 2.01 whip in the time. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if after the All-Star break, the Cubs go to the kids down there in the minor leagues. Ben Brown, he's having a great year down there. Horton is, well, one of their top prospects in the system. And I would honestly want to see one of those guys in the rotation than Drew Smiley, where you know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to be a 500 pitcher. Some games he'll surprise and pitch well, and then some games he's not really going to do anything. So right now, the last month of the season, like I said, he's done nothing for fantasy owners. June 28th versus Philly, 3 2/3 got the loss, 9 hits, 7 runs, a walk, 2 Ks. July 3rd at the Brewers, 3 2/3 in that one, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. And July 8th at the Yankees, 4 innings, got the loss in that ball game, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. So right now, Smiley, he hasn't done anything. I know it's been pretty tough matchups the last 3 outings with Philly and Milwaukee, pretty solid hitting teams. And the Yankees, they hit when they want. But right now, like I said, the Cubs got better options. They're still in the wild card race, just a bit of the Cubs, 7 games out of making it, but still got to jump 3 or 4 teams. But anyway, I think Smiley, after the break, they might put him in the bullpen or give him a couple more outings before the youngsters come up. But right now, I don't want him any part of my fantasy team, and he's a pitcher I would drop this week. The next guy is Jose Alvarado of the Philadelphia Phillies. Alvarado and Keg Trimble were pretty much splitting saves for the most part this season, on and off. On the year, Alvarado, it was a great year once again, 26 innings, 0-0 record, 6 saves, 39 strikeouts, a 1.38 ERA, 1.15 whip. But right now, he's out, is Alvarado, and this is a big loss here for this Philly team as well, where they're tied for the last spot in the wild card going into the break. But now he's going to be shut down with his throwing arm elbow inflammation, and obviously that's not a good thing always, because sometimes it leads to Tommy John, and it's just not tightness and obviously a flare-up. So right now, well, he's going to be out most likely at least, I believe, to mid-August, September at best is Alvarado. There's no reason for fantasy holders to hold on to him, and like I said, he's been a dominant lefty this season, no doubt about it, for the Phillies and fantasy baseball owners. But now with this injury, and Keg Kimbrell, obviously one of the most notable closers of all time, and just keeps racking up saves. Alvarado, even if he comes back, I don't think they'll throw him back into a 50-50 split at the closer role. So right now, he's a pitcher I would drop this week. The next pitcher, Julio Te of the Milwaukee Brewers. So Te came back in the league after many years. He's bounced around in the minors and independent ball, but now the league caught right back up to him on the season. Overall, the numbers have been pretty solid, 47 innings, 2-3 record, 32 Ks, a 3.64 ERA, 1.02 whip and 4 quality starts for the last month of the season, 29 2/3, 1-1 record, 22 Ks, a 4.85 ERA, a 1.08 whip, and 2 quality starts in the time. So right now, Te caught the league by storm, like I said, the first couple of weeks that he was back in the big leagues. And we know this pitching staff has been riddled with injuries the whole year, but now it looks like Brandon Woodruff could possibly come back after the break for this Brewer team, and they might even make a trade here. While they're right there knocking at the door for the NL Central and obviously a wild card spot, so I think they could get another starting pitcher in a deal towards the August 1st deadline, and Terrion will be an odd man out in the rotation, either with the trade or Woodruff. So June 21st versus the D-backs, 5 innings, no decision, 2 hits, no runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. June 27th at the Mets, 5 2/3 got the loss, 7 hits, 7 runs, no walks, 2 Ks. And July 3rd versus the Cubs, 6 innings in that one, 9 hits, 6 runs, a walk, 7 Ks. So the last 2 outings, he's been batting practice as Julio Te, giving up 13 earned runs in that time, and he was never a big strikeout guy. So the K's, they really haven't been there this season. And like I said, he was more of a sinker ground ball guy, but the league now, they're starting to elevate that ball against him and starting to hit extra bases and home runs. So right now, well, he could possibly be out of the rotation, and they skip this spot before the All-Star break here. He's a pitcher I would drop this week, and the 5th and final pitcher I look to drop here is Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers. So Martin Perez, he was great last season for the Texas Rangers, but now it's come to a point where you can't hold on to Martin Perez. For weeks I said hold on to him, buy him low, but now I think it's time to drop Martin Perez, and this team can make a deal as well as this Texas Ranger team for a starting pitcher at the trade deadline, where we know their hitting's one of the best hitting teams in the league, but obviously with Jacob deGrom out for the season, that's a big loss. Even though Dan Dunning, for the most part, he's been a solid fill-in for this Ranger team, but I think they need one more starter to go with them anyway. So on the year here for Perez, 91 2/3, 7-3 record, 60 Ks, 4.81 ERA, a 1.48 whip, and 8 quality starts. So he was never a big strikeout guy to start with Perez. And now teams, they're getting strong contact and hitting the ball with big exit velos versus him over the last month of the season, where he's 23 2/3 in the time. 1-2 record, 11 Ks, a 7.23 ERA, 1.61 whip, and 3 quality starts, so that's not going to get the job done. He's been dropped in tons of fantasy leagues, but he's still owned in 40% of leagues as well. Here's Martin Perez, and like a Drew Smiley, you're going to get some good outings out of him, and then some outings where he gets rocked, and his rotation spot was skipped in the last week as well with Martin Perez, so maybe the time off will help him. But right now, like I said, the last month of the season, he's been getting hit around. June 21st at the White Sox in that one, 7 innings, got the win, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 Ks, a quality start. June 27th versus the Tigers, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, a quality start. And then July 3rd versus the Astros, he got rocked in that one, 1 1/3 in that one, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks. So right now he got 2 pretty easy matchups versus Detroit and the White Sox, but before that he was getting hit pretty hard, is Martin Perez. So if you want to keep him, I understand with the offense that backs him over there in the Texas Rangers, and obviously he came off a tough outing versus a good hitting team in the Astros, but right now you're not going to get strikeouts out of Perez. That ERA's ballooned almost to a 5 on this season, and he's not going that deep into games for the most part here. And Perez, he's just been a hot and cold pitcher where you want to find consistency pretty much start in and start out, which he hasn't brought to fantasy owners. So right now, if you want to drop him, I understand. If you want to hold on to him and give him another outing or 2, I could understand that as well. So that's a few pitchers I like to drop here for the All-Star break of the fantasy baseball season.